Does anyone have any questions before we get started?
Not questions, but I don't
Does
know
everyone
if.
have their beverage?
Oh, yes.
A
Yeah,
bev,
I have mine. I got a special one.
if you will?
All right.
Yes,
Nice.
sir.
Nice.
I listened to like 4 or 5 different episodes, and I don't know if you're just thrilled with all the bands you interview, or if that's just like the podcast guy and you come out. But it's like it's not just, oh, you're a band, talk about it. It's very like, and I'm not trying to set this up as everyone should have high expectations, but it's like you do a very good job of going past just like, oh, what does this mean? What is this about? So I'm very excited, and I was looking forward to this, and I know that I think we all are. I could probably say that, right? All
Yeah, for sure.
right, nice.
Definitely.
To bounce off of that, it's probably a little bit of both. Like everyone that I have on is like, I mean, like I emailed you guys. I found the song on like a playlist, and that's how all my episodes are. Is like I try and find bands that I actually enjoy listening to, mainly because like it helps pump it up, and then yeah, once we get rolling, then I feel like the podcast version of like, hey man, like and subscribe type shit just comes out of nowhere, and then
Nice.
just kind of adds to it. But I'm stoked that you guys are stoked. Hopefully I don't let you down for this. But other than that, we'll crack these beverages. I'll do the little intro and then bring the three of you in.
Cool.
Cool.
All right.
Cool.
So if everyone wants to get locked and loaded here. All right. In 3,
Wait.
2.
I got to wait.
Oh, come on, Michael.
Okay, sorry. I gotta get my finger under it. All right, we're good. We're good.
All right. In 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Beers with Bands podcast with your host, Michael Torres. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Beers with Bands. This week, I'm sitting down with the band Camp Green Lake. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good.
Fantastic.
Very good.
For people that might not know, Camp Green Lake is an Midwest emo band from Tallahassee-ish. I know, originally Tallahassee. There's been some movement going on, but before we get into all the nitty gritty, can you kind of go around and just say who you are and what you do in Camp Green Lake?
Yes.
Guess I'll start.
Okay. Nice.
Oh, okay. Delay got me there.
Yeah.
Well, let's just do it at the same time.
Okay.
3,
Yeah.
2, 1. My name's Ken. No? Okay. My name's Kent, and I play guitar and sing, and I did some drum machine stuff on the album too. And I'm in Nashville, Tennessee right now.
I'm Michael. I play guitar. I'm in Denver right now.
I'm Tiffany. I play guitar and sometimes I'll sing harmony with Kent. And I'm in Tallahassee, Florida.
I mean, I gotta say, when I sent that email and you were like, "Yeah, we'll try and coordinate it," we're in 3 different time zones. I was like, "This will be a fun challenge." I think I've only had one other band on where they had one, like they were an East Coast band, but their one like drummer lived in California. Pandemic, people moving around.
Nice.
Yeah.
That happened. That was I think the craziest lineup distances that I had seen at that point. But yours 3 different time zones. I appreciate you all for taking the time or making the time to make this work. Now,
Yeah, for sure.
I know Camp Green Lake, for me, I don't know a whole lot. You guys, from what I saw, I was looking at a lot of different stuff today. Demos came out in like 2017, 2018. First EP came out in like 2019, and that was Rock Band Culture, which we see a couple of those tracks on the new album. But kind of take me back to like a little bit of history of Camp Green. Like, what was the initial like start, and like how did you get to kind of where you guys are now with the 3 of you?
You want to start, Kent? You want me to start?
Sure. Yeah, I'll start. So something that not a lot of people know about Camp Green Lake is that we are a Craigslist band,
Hell
which
yeah.
is hard to believe, but maybe not too hard to believe with
Yeah.
the early stuff. But um,
It's more
so
common
it
than you
was
think.
Uh-huh.
Michael who made the ad, and I don't remember what he said, but I found it with my friend Zach, and we were just like, "Yo, this guy likes the same stuff as us. You gotta hit him up. Like, let's try to start something." So yeah, and then Michael, what was your reaction to two people you didn't know at all, you know,
All right.
emailing you?
From my perspective, I was a sophomore in college and I was very desperate to do something musical. And the only place that I knew that had other musicians, or at least people that wanted to do stuff together, was Craigslist. And I tried to find the ad, but I couldn't find it because it deletes after some time. But I know I was like, if you play music and you like the bands, You Blew It, Pity Sex, and some other band that was like similar emo-esque, I was like, just hit me up because I'll do whatever. So I went over to Zach's, our old bassist house with Kent. Kent was already there, and I was playing drums at the time because it was like I just wanted to do something music related, but I didn't really care what my role was. It was just kind of getting my foot in. And I remember walking in, and they had some Owen album playing on repeat, and I was like, "Dang, that's that's pretty niche." And then from then it was like, okay, these people make sense. Like, and it was a duplex too, so I had to put washcloths on all the drums and like mute the cymbals and stuff, and it sounded really bad, at least on my end, because I was living in a third story of an apartment, so I brought like a floor tom, a snare, and I think a ride cymbal or something like that, and so it was super super jank. But then from there we just kind of made music, got some other people involved, and then there was another band, Tallahassee, local legend, called Junior College Honor
Royal,
Roll,
yeah, royalty.
who Royalty, who we did the split with. That was the 2018 split with JUCO, and Tiff was their guitarist slash singer. And then just from people moving, bands evolving, whatnot, Tiff came aboard. Do you remember how we got you in?
Yeah, vaguely. So like junior college honor roll was playing a lot of shows with Camp Green Lake, so I got to know them pretty well. And at one point, junior college honor roll was breaking up, and I think at the same time, like Ken's friend Zach was the original bassist for Camp Green Lake. So I actually think I originally entered, like, I think he was moving or something. So I was the
Yeah,
bass player at first. And then Zach like came back for a show and they're like, just play guitar. And then we had three guitar players and we're like, that's something. And then they just didn't put me back on bass. They got another bass player. But now that's how we got the three guitars.
Dude, I
So
forgot about that.
yeah,
That Zach
yeah,
came back for like an episode.
yeah.
yeah,
And I guess that's just the three of us. And then we've had
Yeah.
people come play bass and drums, but it was really like off and on because we've been moving. The pandemic was about that time. It was like maybe a year and a half after Tiffany was like full guitar. So we
Yeah.
played some shows, and then for our last few shows in Tallahassee and on the record, we had our friends Phil and Andre fill in, and they absolutely crushed it. But I think for the major writing process and like song structure and stuff, it was mainly us three. So we're the band,
yeah.
I guess you could say.
Well, I want to start off with the power of Craigslist helps a lot of people. It's crazy the amount of people that have formed bands and had it work through Craigslist, but also like had them work enough where like they're still like on good terms and friends rather than just like, oh no, like that's just someone that I play music with. Like my closest friends here in the Twin Cities, they met to join a band because they both answered a Craigslist ad. They became really good friends. They're like best friends. They actually, not knowing it ahead of time, they actually had like the same last name. So they just went ahead and told everyone in the scene that they were just brothers, which is really funny
Nice.
because they kind of look the same. They're not brothers. They're, for anyone wondering, born hours apart. It's crazy. But yeah, it's. I don't feel like a lot of people have that Craigslist option anymore. Like most people, it's just I don't even know how the kids are forming bands nowadays. I just remember the Craigslist days of everyone trying that and having it work. But that's then also the nice thing about the scene where you become friends with other bands, and then you have like junior college varsity. Is that right? Or did
Close
I
enough.
say it wrong?
Honor
Close
rolls.
enough. Okay. uh, but where you're able to build those relationships, and then able to, as bands kind of grow and evolve and move on, it's always kind of interesting to see who gets kind of like dissected and then added to like another band to keep forming and keep going in the scene. Um, and then obviously, like you mentioned, you start leaving, and then you put out Rock Band Culture in 2019, which I mean is a great. I think it's like 6-song EP, and then now in 2023, you guys are putting out Locale, which is kind of funny because now you're all spread out. And I think there was a post that said you spent the last 4 years writing, rewriting, recording, and re-recording this album. I know we're kind of getting into it a little bit before the episode started, but like what was this like process, especially with being so far apart? I think Michael, you had mentioned when you went to Chicago, that was the first time you had really seen each other in person. Also, and you're also there to kind of work on these songs. Like, take me through this little process.
Yeah, so I guess I can start and then we can all just chime in whenever. So a lot of these songs, they were more or less demos, and I was looking back at old pictures whenever we were making posts for this album, and it was like probably right after Rock Band Culture. A lot of the ways that I would write songs is I would do drum machine on my computer, write scratch guitar, send to the group or send to Kent, and then he would like do some guitar part over it, and then Tiff would fill it in, and then we would write bass together, and then lyrics, and then eventually just evolve from there. So most of the songs, I would say like 2019, 2020, to the point where we had done Rock Band Culture, and we were like, yep, that was an experience. We have these songs. We know that people are graduating, people are going to move away. Do we want to have some, not final release, but just like a culmination of what we've been doing all these years? So I forget if we tried to do scratch tracks first, and then do you remember how we got in touch with Lon with recording stuff? I want to say that we had these
Wish
scratch
I
tracks.
remembered.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to say that Lon like came to enough shows or something like that. Like, didn't Lon reach out to us? I think
Yes,
or something. Yeah.
So Lon, Bashiri, do you know what their I'm blanking on the studio right
The
now.
KOTP
Yeah, KOTP.
recordings.
Lon does recording and mixing and mastering there. So I think they reached out to us, or maybe we reached out to them. We were like, hey, we have these songs. They had done really good work with Pool Kids and with our friends Edgar, Elijah, Her New Knife. And Lon's just super, super good at that whole process and making you feel comfortable. So we reached out to them, and then they eventually took us on, and we met up. We kind of workshopped these songs, and I think we had them all pretty much recorded like 2021, early 2021. When did you move?
I think so, yeah. I know we had them like maybe like 3/4 of the way done when I moved, something like that. I remember I had to come back down at some point. I made the drive down, and I had to do vocals for like 2 or 3 more songs, and of course I got sick. Like the one weekend that I come back down to Tallahassee, like the 8-hour drive. So there's a song on the album where I'm pretty pretty obviously sick, but um, yeah, we went in with a bunch of like just a collection of scratch tracks, basically, like some that Michael had put together, some that I brought that I just like threw together in FL Studio, just like with a bunch of random horrible sounding percussion. And that's kind of just the way the Camp Green Lake has always operated. Just, everybody brings something or sits down with somebody else's track and just says, like, okay, what can I add here? That'll sound cool. Like, it's just, adding your layer to what somebody else brings to the table. It's just kind of how we've always done it. And I think it worked out pretty well. Like even with the how long it took, we just we managed to like pull it all together into something hopefully cohesive. I hope it came through like that, but it's a lot of fun.
So we had finished it, I think, in like 2021-ish. And Kent had already moved away. And then it was Tiff and me and Tiff in
Yeah.
Tallahassee. And then I got married, and Tiff and her partner Chris played guitar at my wedding, which was sick. And Kent was a groomsman, which was sick. So I guess that was the first time that we had been together post the move. So it was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And in the background, we had these songs that we weren't entirely sure if we wanted to put out, because it was like, we're everywhere now. Is there a purpose? Like, do people care about us? Did people ever care about us? I don't know. So just like for our sake, they were pretty much put together, and it was nice to look back and listen to. And then some event happened or something clicked, and we were like, hey, we should put these out. Like, we should get this mixed and mastered somewhere, because we just had the raw files. And I don't really remember where that started.
Was it Bobby Kid that had recommended Brock or like something like that?
Yeah. So Brock from Friends of Friends, who's now based in Chicago, they were in Jacksonville, and they worked on some Bobby Kid stuff that we absolutely loved. And so Anna from Bobby Kid recommended that we reach out to Brock, who again in Chicago, but at this point we're all in our separate states. So it's like, why don't we just make it a destination? Because I'd never been to Chicago, and I don't think you guys had.
I had not. Yeah.
I
I've
had
never been.
once.
Oh yeah, for the Joy de Vivre show.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. Don't
Yeah,
ask me.
yeah, something like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
went to Chicago, met up, and then that was the last time, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So then we've just been self-promoting and self-figuring out how to work this album, but the whole recording process, and then not really hearing the songs in a studio space for like 2-3 years, it was kind of crazy to just sit down and be like, oh, that is what that sounds like, and that part is there, and all this stuff.
Did you guys have like a moment where you're starting to listen to it again in the studio, and you're just like, ooh, why did I do it that way? Like, we just need to cut this whole section and just retake it.
I think I felt that way a lot with my specific parts, but I think I also I think it was really refreshing to kind of step away and come back to it. Like, I typically I get like really like in my head about all of it. So towards the end of the recording process, I think I was the last one to like keep pushing on, like, oh, can I like add another layer here? Like, can I do another one there? And then when we went to Chicago, I think I was really concerned. I was like too scared to listen back to the raw files. I was like, oh, like, what am I getting myself into? And I think I expected to feel like it was like really empty in places and things like that. But then when we did sit down and listen to it, I was like, oh, like, I did do enough there. And like, I actually feel really good about that. So like most of it, I feel that way about personally. But yeah.
Yeah, with 3 guitars, it's rough, because normally, like when we played live, there were so many times where it just sounded like shit. Like, it was just so much noise, which at some parts is pretty cool. And I know going up to Chicago, I listened to a lot of You Blew It's last album, where they had 3 guitars playing, but at some parts there's 1, and at some parts there's 0, and it's just the way that they play around with how the instruments kind of interact with each other was really cool. And I feel like there are some parts in Locale that are a little bit cluttered, but it has good reason behind it. Like heavier parts, everyone's just playing. And the very beginning of Gord, when I think me and Kent are playing, and then Tiff comes in, that's my favorite thing that I think I've ever recorded. That sounds so sick. And I always come back to it, and I'm like, oh, that kind of sucks. Like, other parts of this song kind of suck, but just the beginning of everything coming in and then Kent singing, it's like, that shit slaps.
Yeah, I think it all felt a lot more intentional this time around. Our choices and maybe some stuff we recorded in the past was sort of more spur of the moment, just kind of throwing things together as fast as we could. But yeah, I think that was the nicest thing about this time was we all got to have our concerns and ideas heard, and we had the time this time to actually see what Brock thought about our our ideas and just play around with different settings and take stuff out, add stuff. It was a lot more just experimentation, which was nice.
One other cool thing you guys did, switching from rock band culture to Locale, is you repurposed a couple of songs. You brought them back. I know there's Kevin Abstract, I think Gyro Plus, and I think there was one more, before, but I don't want to like flop around too much. But like, what was the thought process behind like bringing those specific songs back rather than just like doing coming up with a couple more songs to add to this new album and make it its own thing?
Yeah, on Rock Band Culture, we had brought myself from an earlier track that Kent and Zach did because we just really like that song, or at least I really like that song. And then listening back through Rock Band Culture, the recording, it was very rushed for good reason. And then there wasn't a lot of time spent mixing and mastering. So a lot of those songs I feel like could have been given a little bit more justice if we had the time and the bandwidth. But again, at that time, there was just so much going on that we really couldn't put the time and energy into it. So I think listening back, we were like, we like how we brought myself back, and it sounded pretty good. So what songs, I guess, deserve more justice when it comes to getting a better recording? And I know Kevin Abstract is one that we would play live, and I liked playing that, and I think that that sounds really pretty in some parts. And then Euro Plus, I have no idea why we picked that one.
I really like that one.
Yeah,
They don't
okay.
like that one, but
I like
I
that
really
song.
like that one. And I think it's so nice. Like, I don't know, I really enjoy listening to like Euro Plus on like Rock Band Culture, and then again on Locale, and you like hear the glow up, and you're like, oh, like we did it. Like it sounds so good. I don't know. I really enjoy it. So
Credit to Brock too for really elevating that, and a lot of his ideas kind of came into that, especially like how the song leads in. Like I don't think that was us at all. I think that was all Brock.
yeah, that was also, it was like such a surprise. I remember I like opened that file and I was like immediately like, whoa, what is that? But I really like it. I think you did a really great job with that.
And there's so many other parts on that album where the guitars were so grossly out of tune because we have 3 different people playing at once, and Brock's just like, let me give this reverb, let me change this, let me just make this quieter. And for the most part, listening back, I kind of forget where the errors were, but there are some times where it's like, okay, that's where it was, and it sounds a lot better than what it used to.
Yeah, Tiffany, to bounce off what you're saying, like I really loved, because I went through and when I listened to everything today, I started at like the early demos and then worked my way to present and kind of went through everything. Which early demos, if anyone's listening, also go check those out because those 2 songs still slap. And like I get, Rock Band Culture had that, like compared to Locale, less quality to them, but at the same time, for like an emo band, it still works so well. So obviously go listen to that as well. But I loved listening to like and finding like the little, like you said, the glow up between Rock Band Culture to Locale, and just being like, oh no, like the kids did it, like they achieved it, they brought it up a level. And it's I mean, I do that same thing with like any band. It's always fun to see that like transition of like, this is where we played in our basement, and now this is where we're like recording and taking things seriously. Not saying like you guys weren't taking it seriously before, I'm just using that as an example. Don't come for me. But like I just loved seeing that through like the listen through today.
Yeah, thanks. I have not listened to Gainesville Winters, I think, in my entire life. So it's crazy that
You're not
someone
missing
has.
much.
I've heard great things. But I think myself
Not
and
the
Gainesville
songs.
Winters. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I get it. Haha, haha.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this stuff now. Like I have the songs pulled up, and what is that album art? Why is it? It's like me, you, and Zach, and then Camp Green Lake and Comic Sans.
yes, that was. I don't know. I was trying to make something intentionally bad. That was the thing back in the day. Like the shitty album art. That was like the Midwest emo thing to do. I
Uh-huh.
feel like, I mean, kind of still is, I guess, to some
A little
degree.
bit, yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know what is going on there because that EP shouldn't be on Spotify. Not that I took it down, but like I never made the payment to whatever site had it up before. So it went away for a while, and then some like random person just like uploaded it back. I don't know. It just reappeared one day, and I was like, "Oh, okay. Hello again." And that's it.
Nice.
We gotta find out, how to get our $5 or our
I think.
60 cents
Oh
from
yes, yeah,
Spotify.
definitely.
Remember that?
Yeah, you got to get it now before like the pricing changes. I think that they're going to be doing. But
Yeah,
that's a whole
because then
other
it'll be
story.
zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it would just be 0 cents. So yeah,
Uh, I know we were kind of talking earlier. I think right before Tiffany got on is one thing I really also loved about the band is the name Camp Green Lake. I know when I first found the song and I sent the email, I was like, why does Camp Green Lake sound so fucking familiar? I couldn't pinpoint it, and like I had to in my olden age I had to like Google it because I was like, what is this? Like, what is Camp Green Lake? Um, and everyone else that's watching or listening already knows it is the camp that Stanley Yelnats goes to in the great book/movie Holes. Um, I know we were kind of talking earlier, Kent. Like there's a story behind why or how y'all decided to come up with or use Camp Green Lake. Um, how did it come about and like and all that fun stuff?
yeah. I think can chalk it up to just me and Michael and Zach being extremely indecisive and unable to think of anything that we liked, and we would probably send like lists of 5 to 10 names in the group chat, each of us at a time. And I think we were just tired of just having all of our ideas rejected. So we just uh, we just went with something. I mean, I wish I had a better story, but I think it was in reality, it was just like exhaustion from not having a name and like not being able to agree on anything. The classic issue.
One, if anyone's familiar, well, obviously everyone's familiar, especially at our age, is familiar with Holes from either
Yeah,
reading the book, watching the movie multiple times. It's a downright classic. Um,
it is.
with it, I wanted to pose like another question. Obviously, everyone that's in D10 has a nickname. You got Zero, you got X-Ray, you got Caveman.
Mm.
My question is not to ask each one of you what your name would be in that camp. My question is to your other bandmates. What do you think each other's name would be at camp? Because if you remember, you don't pick your name. Your name is given to you.
Fantastic question. Slight tangent. We
I know you're gonna say this. I knew you were gonna say this as soon as you said D10.
whenever we first started playing shows, and you first are in like a local-ish band to where people kind of know who you are, but not really know who you are. Um, we had an issue with just not playing shows and then playing a lot of shows all at once. So there was one day where I think that we had like a show Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we weren't like we weren't I wasn't confident enough to be like, oh, Camp Green Lake is playing all these days, and then people are going to be like, oh, we already saw them on Friday. We don't want to see them ever again, but let alone Saturday and Sunday. So we went by the name Detent Boys. Whenever it was me, Kent, Zach, and our old drummer Rhett, and it like it wasn't funny, and no one understood, and they all were like, "Why are these people playing again?" And I don't think anyone kind of
I
realized
don't
that.
know if they even remembered us.
No,
I don't know
for
if
sure not.
they even.
But I know the
So
one thing that we changed in our set was that I love playing with pedals, and in my DL4, I had the recording of uh Mr. Who what was it that someone said maybe it was Zero, and he was like DIG spells dig, and it was just that. So then we would play, and then we would stop, and I would hit that, and then we went into some breakdown, and it went over so poorly that we it was so awful.
wait, that was. I thought that was. I thought you were doing that intentionally.
What?
The timing of that sample being played, that was unintentionally bad.
So
Oh
I,
man, the secret is unearthed.
Or was
yeah.
it bad because it was just like no one like cared or like it wasn't well received?
I think in both ways, but like it was
Yeah.
I put my phone playing that sound bit up to my pickup, so it was already very like
Oh
shy,
yeah, that's
and
right.
then you can't like get it started, so it was just like off by a fraction of it. Just sounded bad. It was so awful. So sorry,
And
back to
again, the
your question.
genre, you know, kind of
Yeah,
worked.
yeah, bad is good.
Well, maybe at some point, if you for the next release, or if you bring any other songs back, you can always try and like tuck that into like the actual like version. You know, that's an emo thing to do, is to use good old sound bits.
We
For
had a
sure.
few that Tiff was trying to pick from this long part and nothing, I think, and then we ended up just not doing it. What was
I was like very into it. These guys didn't want to do it, but we were gonna do a sound bit. Is it in nothing? You can like, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I really wanted it. I thought it would have sounded really, really good, and these guys were not on board. But yeah, I tried.
We almost had what was it? We almost had fuck Camp Green Lake. You know,
oh
that was an idea for a long time.
yeah, we had I think Tiff had like 7 or 8, and I don't know who I got mine from, but the idea was to get all these people to say fuck Camp Green Lake, and then have it like at the end of the last song or something, to where only the true campers would listen all the way through and, and realize what was happening.
That's our fan base. Or I don't know. Phil was calling them the Lakers. So I don't know. That's it's tough to tell.
Yeah,
They're both good. They're both so good.
I'm so sorry, Michael. You said what camp name would we give each other?
yeah.
That
Because
felt like 30 minutes ago. Sorry.
no, you're good, man. I loved every tangent off that question. But yeah, if you showed up at Camp Green Lake, what would your other band members give you as your nickname? So basically, Michael, what would you give either Kent or Tiffany, or Tiffany, what would you give Kent or Michael? Kent, Michael, or Tiffany?
That is so hard. I'm not creative enough for this. One of you
Yeah.
guys say something first.
Junior college,
I would give. Oh, go ahead.
junior college honor
Please.
roll had a song where there was a lot of like little riffage, and then someone said, "We're never going back to Chattahoochee," and I think that Chattahoochee would be a pretty good camp name. Do you agree? For Tiff, the
That is
JUCO
good. That
alumni.
was I can't believe you remember that. But yes, that was very
Classic.
clever, Michael.
Thanks.
I would say Riffany.
Oh yeah,
Ooh,
Good. Yeah.
Dear God. That's pretty good. Um, I don't know what to say for the two of you. One of you think of something.
maybe Kent is just Ken, because it felt like every time that he would introduce himself,
Yeah.
it would just be Ken.
That's really
Yeah. I
good.
don't correct people. So that's just my name. Yeah.
you just bottle it up inside.
Yeah. It's all good. You know. Ken's a good name too. You know, plenty of good
It's true.
Kens out there. You know. Thanks for the Barbie movie. Like the Kens, you know, they're doing well in the world. So
Yep.
I'll join their team. I like that.
I don't know
I
what
don't know
Michael
about for
would
Michael
do.
though. Yeah, I
Some
have no
spin
clue.
off of Where did you say, Kent?
Riffany?
No, but for Michael, what would you say for Michael?
Okay. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of something with pedals, like something off of like shoegaze or like I don't know. What's a pedal that Michael uses a lot? Do you know Michael's pedal board without Michael's input?
No. And
That's a
also,
good game.
Michael buys so many pedals. Michael has like completely changed his pedal board since the last time I've seen it.
I'll
Like
say
some
like
sort of snake shedding its skin. It is probably completely different now.
I'll say like Mr. Fuzz. I feel like Michael uses a lot
Mr.
of fuzz. Is that like
That's Michael
that's
now.
all I
Yeah.
got.
I like that. That's nice.
Oh, yeah. I I thought that was gonna be a fun question. I knew it was a fun question. Just because like I could have turned it around and I knew like the easy way would just be like, what would your camp nickname be? But you gotta pick. You don't choose your own at Camp Green Lake. You know?
No.
Kind of. I want to bounce off of. I think what Michael said. You know, or maybe it was Kent about adding. Fuck Camp Green Lake at the very end of the record. I know the song you guys are talking about is Slowing, which for people that haven't listened to the record yet, it's this amazing just straight instrumental track that you guys used as basically like a giant outro for the album. There is no vocals in it. It's just this intense little journey. I'm really stoked to like get high and just put on that track and just see like what happens. But that's a whole side
Oh yeah.
but don't stop. Just let it all go through. There unfortunately is no fuck Camp Green Lake at the very end, but it is still an amazing track that everyone should be listening to fully round out this album. I mean, in total, it's 9 tracks, a little over 30 minutes. You were not going to be bored with what you're listening to. I had a great time listening to the entire thing.
Thank you.
That's very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, it was very, very sweet. Thank you.
I think that at least we talked about putting the collection together, and then we have some demos and some a cover of Slowing that Phil did. That's just beautiful, and it's in a hidden Bandcamp album. And I put a secret hyperlink in the Locale album page on Bandcamp, and I guess no one's found it yet. But once someone does find that, then we can be sure to put the fuck Camp Green Lake compilation up.
Well, I know what I'm doing after this.
I can
Thank you.
assure you that it will be so worth it. It will make your day. It will be the best part of the album.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say you're never
Absolutely.
gonna find the hyperlink, and then it was like some joke that like it's like super deep embedded in it somehow. But no, I'm super stoked. I know you guys made the post, and you all live 3 different time zones now. You know, it's a little hard to get together on like a Tuesday night to practice. But what do you guys anticipate for like the future of Camp Green Lake? I know it's all up in the air, but with today's day and age, you can still be doing music together from your respective homes. But like, what are your guys' ideas so far?
I don't know. I'll say I was like, I'm like in it for the ride, whatever these guys want to do. They both have much more like intense jobs than I do and schedules and all that. I do know that like one night, please don't be mad at me for saying this, but like one night Michael was like, that was it, no more. And then like less than 24 hours later, he sent riffs for like 5 minutes of riffs. And I was like, okay, so whatever they want to do, whatever you guys want to say.
It's so easy because you just tune your little guitar in a little open tuning, and then you hit all the notes, and then you can play whatever fret, and it makes everything sound so good. To that, I hadn't played guitar in so long, and then we finished the album, and it was like, okay, that's pretty much it. And then I sit down, and I have some little SP404 drum machine, and you just play along to that, and it's like, it's so easy to come up with riffs. So I would send a few of them back and forth, and I've stopped sending them because I could tell that they were getting annoyed. But I guess it is really just, do we want to make an effort again? Because sending stuff back and forth, especially through the internet, is really, really easy. But it's like,
Yeah.
are we ever going to be in the same room together again for like a week to where we can just throw stuff? So right now, at least in my opinion, not dead yet, but we're near death.
We're on life support.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
But I have been recording some stuff, so maybe one day I'll just send like a folder full of like 20 songs, and then we'll pick and choose. But as of now, I think we would like to get together and at least have an album release show or something to kind of signify, oh, we did this. But I don't know when that's going to be.
I also don't know where that would be.
Yeah.
Kent had an idea whenever we were doing Rock Band Culture. I think it was just to like play a show in Athens or someplace like completely random where no one's going to show up, but be like, this is the album. Hattiesburg, yeah. Yeah, not
Yeah.
Hattiesburg.
I mean, I totally understand. I totally understand the, you know, the thought of like, we want to keep doing it, but at the same time, it's super difficult. I know I have friends that that I used to tour with, that one of the members moved to California. Everyone else was kind of throughout, but it was always mainly two people. But one guy moved to California, one guy's still kind of back home doing his thing. And I know that band was a big part of their lives. They want to keep doing stuff with it, but at the same time, it's like, how is it feasible? How do we make this work? But like I was telling him, like, you know, just even if you guys just do stuff and like put it out randomly, just like, oh, here's we're gonna slide in a single or whatever. But that's also me just like loving those two and loving what they do and stuff like that. But also, you know, you guys just released this at the beginning of October. You know, it's been out at the time that this episode comes out, it's been out for a little over 2 months. I feel like I found it on a playlist. I know it's been on like, I think the Sad Jams playlist. It's I see it popping up, and I just hope that more people find it to hopefully encourage the three of you to keep, you know, working on songs and maybe putting out some more gems in the future.
Thank you. Shout out to everybody putting us on playlists. Like, we appreciate that. I know that's like such a big thing now online. I know, like, I think back before I used to find everything on YouTube, but it seems like a lot of kids nowadays, they're really big into these playlists, especially on Spotify. So yeah, we see that, and yeah, we appreciate that. Everybody who curates those.
Yeah, whenever there was a lull in the band, maybe like probably a little bit before COVID, but nothing was really happening and like we hadn't put out anything. So it was just kind of like, okay, we exist, but we're nothing past that. And then this guy, Chris DeVito, put us on a YouTube compilation that was like sad Midwest emo songs to do something to. And it was like, it had 2 or 3 of our songs, and one of ours was like the opening song. And I always scroll through the YouTube comments and it's like, oh, this is so awesome. This is so cool. So massive shout out to him if he ends up listening, because he kind of kickstarted like, oh, people do care. You just have to be put in the right context.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially nowadays, like context is everything. I also love finding that style of like YouTube videos where it's just like emo jams to do whatever to, where it's just I think one I listened to had, you know, a bunch of free throw and stuff like that on it, but I think it was just pictures of like houses in the Midwest, and it just like hit so well. It's like, man, I feel it just like added the more emotion to everything. But there's a lot of good ones of those out. But kind of like what Kent, you were saying, like, yeah, nowadays you have to be. That's how everyone's finding everything is off playlists. That's how I've kind of shifted with everyone that I find to have on the podcast is playlist, where like 10 years ago, me finding music was literally doing the same thing you're saying. I would go through YouTube, find music videos, find what's similar, go through those. I mean, that's how I found like Seaway, Neck Deep, like Old Gray. I think Have Mercy, like all those bands, they're doing stuff like that. And it's just so crazy to see how much things have changed, where people have shifted away from like doing music videos and all that. It's just playlist is the in thing now.
Yeah, and especially with Bandcamp, it's tough to say, but RIP maybe Bandcamp.
Yeah.
That used to be like my other go-to, like just going through like the emo tag on Bandcamp, and I'm worried that that might not be an option too much longer. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Uh, I mean, Twitter was supposed to die like a year ago. It's still doing
That's true.
something.
Yeah.
It's still terrible, but it's doing something.
Yeah.
Um, but I know we've kind of talked about rock, a little bit about rock band culture. We talked about Locale. We talked about some of the songs on there specifically. But before we kind of transition, is there anything that I might have not brought up about either Camp Green Lake, Locale, or anything else that you want the people to fully know?
I think you knocked it out of the park. I think that we talked about it
I
before, but
agree.
you go so in depth with all these bands, and I was like, I told Julie, my wife, before coming upstairs, I was like, I'm gonna know if he actually likes us or if it's just like podcast filler. And maybe I'm reading this wrong, and you can tell me if you want to, but it seems like you actually somewhat can tolerate our music, and I really appreciate that, and appreciate you going in depth with these questions because it's nice to talk about these things.
I appreciate those words so much. I'm just a dude that does this, and people spend their time with me for whatever reason or listen for whatever reason. But I kind of said earlier, like I truly enjoy everyone's music that I have on the podcast, and I can definitely tolerate Camp Green Lake, Locale for as much time as I want to. It's definitely it like I can't stress this enough. This is a great LP. It's got a little bit of everything for everyone, depending on what spectrum of the emo scene you're on. Roundabout. You know, in itself, it's an emo album. There are a couple more like angstier Midwest emo songs on there. There's a little bit of like twinkliness for the fifth wave emo people. But all in all, like I've loved listening to it. I'm super stoked that we were able to talk about it, and I hope everyone that's listening goes and follows and listens to it and convinces the three of you to keep going.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Before I do transition, if anyone is listening to this episode and they're like, okay, I need to go listen to this album right away after this episode's done, or you pause the episode, go listen to it, and then come back. But from each one of you, like, what would be your go-to song off this album?
I really like Gord. I think the guitar part in the beginning is really, really nice, and I think it kind of transitions really well. So that's my pick. But for some reason, everyone who's like, "Oh, Camp Green Lake, like this is the band," they always put on Coffee Cup, which is like the furthest away from the rest of the
Yeah,
album.
that's like a total departure from everything else on there.
So I'm gonna say not Coffee Cup as my answer, but I like Gord.
I really like um, amphetamines, me, and nothing. How those turned out. We hadn't really done anything that heavy before, and definitely nothing with like screams or anything. And I think that Michael and Tiff just really knocked it out of the park, with their respective parts on those songs. And I think that like one of the spots where all of us collaborating like went the most fluidly, I guess. Like I think it all came together on those.
I really like. There's like I feel like we're just naming all of the things, but I kind of switch back and forth between Family Face and Euro Plus. I really, really like Euro Plus. I think again, especially that like glow up moment. I'm like, oh, we like sat on it for so long and it like sounds so good now, and I feel really proud of that. But also like It's like on my way to work, I listen to Euro Plus, but when I'm driving home at the end of the day and I'm kind of winding down more, I listen to Family Face. I think that's a really good one. I think Kent did good. But yeah, I really like both of those.
I mean, they're all solid. I do have to agree with Kent that Amphetamines and Me and Nothing are probably like my top contenders. Followed by I think probably Gord in a close third. Mainly because I really do my favorite version of emo is that angsty, screamy version, and I really enjoyed getting to that portion of the album, and then those parts hit in like Amphetamines and Me, and I wasn't expecting it to hit, and I was like, oh fuck yeah, like I'm hooked, and then Nothing follows it up very well, and then obviously like I mentioned earlier, Slowing just takes it on this nice ride to kind of send off the album. But I mean, either way, listen to the whole thing. You need to do it in a sitting and just enjoy it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you.
Um, but now, before we transition, this is obviously Beers with Bands. You don't have to be drinking on these episodes because I would definitely do that for you. But I know the three of you have some beverages in front of you on this fine Wednesday. It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday, my dudes. But what are you drinking on this fine Wednesday?
I said I went to the liquor store and I was looking for a fun beer, and the brewing company is called Four Noses. And when we cracked, I said that it was awful, and I doubled down. This is so bad, but when I'm not talking, I don't have anything else to do, so I'm just kind of drinking on the side. Yeah, the color is cool. I think it's maroonish, which is why I got it. But yeah, I don't recommend. It's really bad.
So I have, unfortunately, a dental procedure tomorrow. So I am drinking a non-alcoholic beer today. This is Athletic Brewing's Free Wave Hazy IPA. But unlike Michael's, it's actually very good, very refreshing, and just goes to show you, good beer doesn't have to have alcohol in it.
It's true.
Nice. Well,
Kaylyn?
I broke the rules a little bit. I'm not drinking beer. I'm drinking cider. Wow.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
I'm not really a beer drinker, but I am a cider gal. I think I say it's called Recorder League. That's how I say it. This is one of my go-tos. It is strawberry lime. It is a premium Swedish hard cider. And it tastes like a strawberry soda. And I love that. It's very sweet. If you don't like sweet, don't drink this. But man, if you like don't really enjoy the taste of alcohol or anything bitter, then this is what you want. So that's what I got.
Nice. Did I see
It
that you
actually
had
sounds really good.
Michael, did you have a Kona? Is that what I saw the
Yeah.
label?
Yep. So for the opening crack, I had a good old Kona Big Wave. I I had some that I bought for like a previous episode, and then I somehow ended up with more in my fridge that I didn't buy. Mystery. So got to start with an open crack. Can't really do that with the bottles I'm drinking today, because my main beer that I drank for these episodes, again didn't buy these. They ended up in my fridge. It happens. But I got a good old Dos Equis. That most interesting man in the world that disappeared. But
Nice.
yeah. Normally these episodes, like 95% of the episodes, are PBR, but I've been trying to like put myself into this new track where Spears of Bands, I don't need to drink PBR every episode. So I've been trying to mix it up. I think you guys are like episode 6 of me mixing it up, and I think if anyone's made it this far in this run of episodes, every episode's been kind of different. So that's sticking to it.
Nice.
Like I did
Good.
say.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
we've all had our share of PBR exhaustion, from drink tickets, multiple venues. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with, switching it up.
Yeah. It's and then it's crazy with PBR exhaustion because you'll get tired of it, and then you still go to like the next show, and you're like, It is the cheapest thing. I should probably just get that again.
It's good. It's
It,
it's
yeah.
it's nice whenever you play a show whenever you're 21 and they're like, "Oh, you can have 2 free PBRs," and you're like, "Oh my God, this is heaven." And then you make like $7 and you're like, "I can buy 2 more
Yeah.
PBRs. This is
The venue back home that I book shows at every once in a while, if you whether you were the promoter or you were the band playing, you got dollar drinks or like you got like like a reduction, and but normally we would just get like tap beer and because it was PBR anyways, but they would be dollar drafts. And I remember the first time I booked a show, like I was like, "Here's my card. I'm gonna start a tab," and he's like, "Cool," and I was like, "I'll take a PBR." So he pours it, going through the show. I probably, you know, beer a band. I probably had like 4 or 5 by the time like the show's starting to get done. I'm like, I will like to close up my tab, and he's like, "Well, you're at $5. It's a $10 minimum," and I'm like, "What?" So I just started going up to people like my friends, and I'm like, "Do you need a beer? Do you need a beer? Do you need a like? I need $5 more. Just someone take a beer."
your king."
Yeah.
You're such a nice person. That like tells me everything I want to know about you. Like, I would love to like hang out. That's so nice of you.
And then fast forward like 3 years, I didn't become a dick, but what I did was I looked at the system and I got there before a show, like right in that sweet spot where like happy hour is still going on, and I was like, okay, a tall boy PBR is still $4, or I can spend 5 and get a pitcher of beer for myself. Did that one, and then just walked around the entire show with a full pitcher of beer. It was great.
Oh yeah,
That's
economical.
amazing.
It in this economy, you got to be saving the dollars, you know.
Dude, amen.
Oh yeah.
But that is the little beer segment. Now we're gonna get to my favorite part of the episode. I didn't mention this before the episode started, like I normally do in my opening episode rant. But this is where we kind of talk about some fun stories from you guys this time of music. Obviously, y'all have been playing music for quite a while. I know you've gone on at least one tour with Camp Green Lake, and then you guys have also spent time recording. They can be stories from any of those. Like I normally say, they can be anything horrendous to tremendous or any adjective in between. The way I like to think about it is think about the stories you always reminisce about with your friends. Those are usually the best stories that I love to hear because those are usually the craziest or just most random.
I was listening to, I think, your Pale Lungs episode, and I was like, "Oh, this is a cool segment." It's mainly on tour though, so I hope he doesn't say like only on tour for everything. And I listened to more episodes, and it's like mainly on tour. And so I messaged Ken and Tiff, and I was like, "We're not gonna have any stories. Like, there's nothing to talk about." So I tried to think of things, and the only thing that I could think of from the short little summer or spring break 8-show tour, whatever, is that the day before we got back, we were in some city in Georgia and we went to a zoo, but a hurricane had just like hit this zoo, but for some reason they were still open. And you still paid full price for tickets, so like nothing changed, except it looked like all the enclosures had fallen in and the animals went away. And I think that I was in the worst mood imaginable. And I'm pretty sure that everyone else can say that that's true because I don't like zoos too much to begin with, but just seeing nothing there and just having to walk around and having everyone else like thrilled to be at that place, I was like, I can't handle this anymore. And it was just awful for me. That's the one story that I could think of. But if I could say one not on tour, whenever we first started playing shows, it was mainly to like college kids, and like we played one semi frat house, and some guy came up to us
Yeah.
afterwards, and he was like, "Dang, you guys are so good. You know who you remind me of?" Like it was a guessing game, and I was like, "No, who do we remind you of?" And he goes, "Stevie Ray Vaughan," and and I was like, "Yeah, dude, you're so right." And then we play some show at like an adult arcade type of deal, and the same exact type of dude, he comes up to us after we play our show, and he was like, "Dang, you guys sound really good. Do you know who you sound like?" and I was waiting to hear like the greatest answer of all time. And so I sat down at his table and I was like, no, who do we sound like? And he was like, what do you say? He said the Appleseed Cast. He said Jets to Brazil, like older emo band
Yeah,
that I think Kent was trying to hone whenever he was writing these first songs. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then he was
a
like,
lot of
yeah,
growth there.
yeah, a whole lot of growth. And then he was like, yeah, I'm visiting my cousin's family or whatever. I'm only in town for one day. So it's like the one person that we connected with was gone. So that that was nice. It was good to see growth, like Kent said, but it's cool to see growing up in a or playing in a college town what you get compared to.
I think that same like frat show that we played, me and the old bassist Zach, we like were pretty drunk after the show, and we started playing this game where we were trying to fit as many of the frat's beers as we could into Zach's like cargo jacket. I think we got up to like 14 somehow throughout all of his clothes. We managed to steal 14 beers. So I consider that a huge accomplishment for the band and good memory. I don't think they paid us, so
Yeah, and like we
yeah.
played on their back porch, and they had some old lady neighbor who would like come up to the fence, and I forgot what she obviously was like turn it off like it's a Wednesday afternoon or whatever. But we kept playing, and I think we were the only band, or maybe the people after us stopped or something. But it was awful. It was a horrible experience. But they were so into it because they were drunk, and they were like, "Oh, you guys sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan, so let's let's keep the party going."
Yeah. I think my real answer though would have to be about midway through tour, our only tour, or yeah, our only real tour. We were already exhausted and we played in this small college town in Mississippi called Hattiesburg. And there used to be a bar there called Nick's Ice House, RIP. Um, that was like the shittiest, like biker type dive bar I've ever been to in my life. I mean, I'm sure if you're a student there, you love it, cheap beer, all that, but it was not the type of place that we really wanted to pull up and play a set at because we figured no one would give a fuck. And so going into it, we just didn't care and ended up playing probably the best set we've ever played just because we weren't nervous at all because we did not care at all at that moment. And at one point, they like brought us a bucket of beers filled with ice, and that was like that ended up being like one of the highlights of the tour. Just because we just weren't making any mistakes. Like we just didn't care, and people were super into it, surprisingly. And I think that place burned down. I think like a year ago, maybe an insurance fraud thing. I don't know. Wouldn't really surprise me, but RIP Nick's Ice House. Shouts out Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Hattiesburg,
I will.
it's oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Just two quick things that are probably not going to be quick. Hattiesburg was Southern Miss, University of Southern Miss, and so I had a friend there, and he was like, "Oh, play at this, and my friend can open up for you." And his friend was the president of the only frat at Southern Miss, and I think is like I don't want to look into it, but he brought almost the entirety of Southern Miss to this like 10-person bar. I was so transparent with the owner, like, hey, we have this guy opening up, but he got some like 3 15-year-olds to play like
Yeah,
Nirvana covers. And
they
as
killed it.
they absolutely crushed it.
Yeah,
But as they were playing, like these hordes of SRAT and frat people started walking in, and then the guy built his own like PA system and like had someone run the mixer. Like it was super overdoing it. And then after he got done, before we allowed everyone to leave, we just jumped on and started playing, and it was great. Second story, a bit that Kent does that I really
Oh
hated that
no.
now I like and I do.
Yeah, because you bit off me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the funniest thing now. But
it's
anytime
not. It's not.
anytime a bar has touch tunes, you can play songs from your phone. You just load credits. So what Kent did and what he does now and what I do now because it's so funny is you go into the bar and you don't walk up to the jukebox. So all the old people behind the what's it, not a register, behind the counter, they don't see
The
anyone put on
bar? I
the
don't know.
bar. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he plays music from his phone. So he played some really, really bad song, and the bartender was like, "Oh, I didn't see anyone put any music on." And I was like, "That's not funny." And I think he unplugged the touch tunes because Kent did it so many times, and that put me in a bad
Yeah.
mood too. I hated that so much. But now there's a 45-minute long touch tunes LCD sound system song that no matter where I go, I put it on because it just ruins the mood for everyone, and it's like 50 cents. It's awesome. What were you saying, Tiff? Sorry.
That was my story.
Oh no.
Damn it. Now I'm trying to think. I don't know. I guess like so Michael does do that. So I think I do remember like oftentimes we would like go to Waffle House or something afterwards, and I think Michael would put that on in Waffle House very frequently. Um, man, you stole my bit. But yeah, so Hattiesburg was definitely the highlight. Um, now I can't think of anything.
You
Um,
playing the bug house and then going to Bobby Kid's house
Sorry.
afterwards.
that was sweet. That was also
Yeah.
really odd. That was like a really weird vibe. I was so uncomfortable, but it was cool and nice. Um, I think I was gonna say back to back with the best one, probably like the not great one was New Orleans. But man, we had a lot of fun in New Orleans. But that show, like,
Yeah.
I think there were like 2 audience members, and it was just like there were like 5 bands on the bill, and we all just like played for each other to this like giant. We were like, it was like a higher stage up, and it was like this bigger venue. It was just bands playing for bands. Um, that was a time, but I do know that Kent and Michael did some really hot sauce tasting in New Orleans. I remember that. Um, I think there's a video on the internet of it, um, which is really fun. But I just remember I got blackout drunk, and I think it was me and Kent or me and Michael. I went with one of you guys to the what's it called? The place with the gambling. The
Casino.
the
Casino.
casino, and we played like slots, and we just kept drinking. And then I got blackout drunk, and it was a really cool
Man.
Airbnb, and it was a good time.
I
But then we played a horrible show.
True.
I forgot about that because our drummer at the time was not 21, and
Yeah,
it wasn't like a you stand out like it's your turn now. But me and Ryan just walked around and like went up we to the highest buildings we could, trying to have fun, but it was so awful. And you could just tell. I found the video. It's on my YouTube channel. It's a 23-minute long video of just things I took on tour. And this is kind of awesome. I forgot about most of these things, but yeah, that was awful for me. I hated that so much.
Kent and I had
Yeah, I
fun.
remember in that
I had
casino,
fun.
like
Yeah,
that there was like a couple that came up to us and like told us, hey, if you go to these like penny slot machines in the back, you can just keep like idly playing like one cent every like few minutes. But then there's a menu on the slot machine where you can just keep ordering free drinks. So we played like I don't know, $1 worth of slots and got like 6 drinks. Just sat there for like an hour. So that was another highlight. I forgot about that one.
So I went to Vegas for like the first time, probably like at this point. Oh, it was when I think right when I turned like around 25, so probably almost like 6 years ago at this point. And I went with my dad. My dad's a bigger gambler than I am, so I'm just sitting at a slot machine, and I'm like, okay, I've been chilling. I need to get like a beer. Like we had been drinking like while we're walking down the strip, um, which is always like slightly weird depending on how your relationship is with your parents for everyone. And I'm like, okay, like now it's also my birthday weekend. I'm gonna let loose a little bit. So I was like, I'm gonna go order rum and coke. And I was like playing slots, and like the waitress came over, she took my order, and then she came back, and I like handed her like some money, and she's like, oh, she just basically like took the tip, but like didn't charge me for it. And I was like, I've unlocked a cheat code somehow. And I was like, all right, sitting at like every machine, just like making sure like I was like playing, and then I could get like those free drinks. But at the
Yeah.
same time that I was in Vegas, my friends were also there celebrating like their birthday, and we ended up being able to like meet up at a bar at one of the casinos. And they're like, "Hey, we're at this bar, come meet us." And I got there, we ordered from the bar and had to pay, and I was like, "Dude, we should have just sat down at the slots. They just bring that shit to you, man. It's cool."
You did find a cheat
Yeah.
code. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was great. It was amazing. If I was supposed to pay, I have no idea because I didn't pay for
No, they got you.
most of those.
They're looking at you though through those cameras. You know,
Yeah.
you gotta sell it. You gotta be, you know, touching the screen every once in a while. Just make
Yeah,
sure
they're like, this
you're
guy's
not
already
shocked.
lost like $10. We'll give him this one. Don't worry about it.
He needs it. Yeah.
Last year my buddy got married, and before that we went. We had a bachelor party weekend, and we went bowling, which was great because I went back to basically like, so I live in Minneapolis now. I'm originally from Iowa, and where we went bowling is a smaller town, so between bowling and drinks, I spent like a fraction of what I would even spend in like the Twin Cities to do that, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And then we ended our night at the casino, so like I'm hammered at this point. And my friend that's like with me while we're walking around the casino, he's like, I don't really gamble that much. I was like, dude, it's not that bad. And I was so to a point that I just didn't give a shit that I put a 20 in the slot machine and just max betted, hoping that it would like do something. And I just ran through like $60 super fast, and I just turned to him, I'm like, just don't do what I did, and then you'll be fine. And then we all chipped in to the bachelor. We all provided money to him, so we had like two. I think we ended up giving him like $100 to spend on his own that we were all paying for. He was like, "I'm gonna put it all on." Someone's might correct me for this. They probably won't, but I think he put it all on black on roulette. He won. He won like $100,
Nice.
so he was up $200. And then we like there's 8 of us cheering in this one section of the casino that everyone thinks that this guy might have just won like 20 grand. He won $100, so he's up 200. And then we were like, okay, and we leave. We gotta go. Like we there's no way we can top what just happened. We all have to leave.
I
That was
respect
smart.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is smart.
As we start to like wind down, this has been a great time. I'm so happy that we found the time to do this with living in 3 different time zones and setting this all up. And I really appreciate the 3 of you for making this happen. But I do like to leave the episodes on a high note. I know we're already we're laughing, we're having a good time, but my last question for the 3 of you is, in your time with Camp Green Lake, what has been your favorite moment that you've experienced so far?
Wow.
That's so big.
It's tough.
That is a tough question. While everyone else thinks, I'm gonna scroll through our Instagram and try and figure out a good moment.
Okay. I will
I
also
can be-
keep the
I'll-
silence.
I'll be cheesy and I'll say, like, I don't know. I feel really grateful that these guys brought me into the band and I've made such good friends with them. And I think about when we were all still in college and stuff, and we would have so many mutual friends, and like we would all end up at the same party, and I would like feel so happy, like, oh, like look, there's like Kent and Michael. Like it would like make my night. It would make me carry myself with more confidence and be like, wow, like I have friends here that like I know support me and like all of that. So I think those moments of just like being able to look around the room and be like, oh, like there's Kent and Michael. It's just like a very warm feeling. So
Good answer. Good answer. That reminded me um, whenever we were a band, me, Kent, Zach, and Rhett, the older what's the word? The older band, doesn't matter. And we were talking to Tiff in junior college honor roll, and I think it was whenever Tiff started to play bass for us, and we were like, yeah, we don't really hang out much. Like we write songs and sometimes we do stuff together, but like it's not anything too special. And Tiff was like, that is so crazy because whenever they were in junior college honor roll like band sessions, they were like, Camp Green like always has fun together. They always feel like you're like their family in a sense. We need to start doing that, like them as junior college honor roll. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like we don't hang out much outside of practice. But then transitioning to Tiff and then to everyone else that helped us make music and write music and record stuff. And then especially us three and like this last time in Chicago together, it was like that is what Tiff was thinking was happening with the old band, if that made sense. As in like in Chicago, we obviously did music stuff and we mixed and we mastered the album, but it was like we just walked around Chicago and we had fun together. And that's kind of what tour was, but it was a lot more stressful because it was just 7 days and I've never spent that long with these people before. But just being around everyone and just hearing that Tiff had such good words and seeing that those good words are kind of now what the band is, it is nice. It's a good feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be lying if I said that choosing Chicago wasn't sort of just an excuse for us all to get together. Obviously we did get the album mixed, but it was nice to all be somewhere together again. And I think that's especially with college bands, like a lot of times people just kind of go off and start their life after college. So there wasn't a guarantee that we would even hang out again, once we all moved away. So that's been one of the high notes is just like seeing our relationships with each other just continue on and you know being able to talk, and it hasn't really declined at all, which is great. I don't think that can be said for every college band a few years after everyone's moved.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree. Growing up near college town, the amount of I don't know if turnover is the right word, but the amount of bands that would cycle through depending on the years and stuff is it's always crazy. Like you said, people move on. They're either there for just college and they're not originally from there, so they have to at some point they end up moving back home or life takes them elsewhere. But it's nice to see that the three of you have kept in touch, kept this going, um, used Chicago as a kind of like excuse to get back together to kind of do your thing. Um, and I mean, I hope you find more reasons to get together and or just toss ideas around. Like I can't stress enough. Like this has been a great album, and I'm super stoked for the three of you now that it's out. I hope everyone is finding it and it keeps enjoying it and it keeps building from there. And like it's been a great time, great conversation, great Wednesday. I'm a little buzzed, so it's a sign that it's been a good time.
Nice.
Definitely.
oh yeah.
Yep. Kent, you feel buzzed?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm stumbling around over here.
Um, Now I normally leave off with this as well as if anyone's looking for merch, music, or Camp Green Lake in general, where can they find it?
I do have like a ton of Camp Green Lake stickers in my like sock drawer, so I can always mail them out to people who want them.
Dude, I have. Let me take a second. Sometimes my mic unplugs, but I have like infinite Camp Green Lake stickers because it was cheaper if you bought like 500 at once, and maybe 20 people wanted them.
They're really good stickers.
Dude, they're
Michael,
super.
Michael, you designed it,
Yeah.
right?
Good quality.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see the stack of stickers,
Damn.
and then this is one. It's guitar
Oh, yeah,
pedals that
that's
say
sweet.
Camp Green Lake, and there was a point whenever I just wanted to get rid of them, so I just sent them out to people, and I paid for postage and literally everything. So again, if anyone who's listening wants one, then I guess Instagram might be the best way to connect. I'm very anti-social media when it comes to the band, but I guess Instagram, just message us. I have stamps. I have everything ready to go. So I guess that's the merch that you can have.
Hell yeah.
For connecting with us, again, just Instagram. Yeah, that's probably it.
You guys do have a Twitter. I don't know how often you go into that, but if anyone's looking there, oh, I'm gonna redo that. Hold on. So sorry.
You're good.
All right. Camp Green Lake also has a Twitter, but like I normally say, depending on where you found this episode, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, I guess Twitter or X or Threads, or you watch the YouTube version and got to see their lovely faces like I did tonight, make sure you check the description down below. Hit those hyperlinks. Go follow them on all the socials. Be ready for hopefully new music coming soon. Go listen to Locale. Go listen to everything else they have out because these three are killing it. And if you want stickers, hit them up. I know once this is done, I want to be talking to them about that and making some swaps. We'll make that happen. But I mean, Michael, Kent, Tiffany, thank you. I can't stress enough. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your Wednesday to sit down with me. This has been a great time. I really do enjoy everything as much as Michael, you listen to a few episodes, you hear me say this all the time. Like, as much as I say this every time, I really do enjoy it. I've loved listening to it. And like I said, this has been a great time.
Thank you.
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Yeah, thank you a lot. And for the YouTube listeners, I found 3 of these. If you can see what this is.
Wow.
So if you want one, let me know what this item is and you can have it. Because this was my favorite piece of merch that we ever did. And I didn't know that I had these, but there's quite a few in this box. So
Hell yeah.
Yep, just let me know.
Well, on that note, that's going to end it for this episode. One last big thank you to Camp Green Lake for stopping by. Everyone, go dig your holes, and I'll catch you on the next episode. See ya.
Yeah, thanks. I'm waving. Bye.
Beers with Biz.